Hey man,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. It's just I'm in Arizona, where I think your singer Robert Mason lives here, right?
Robert lives there. Steven lives there, and I have a house. I have a house over on the river there.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. My air conditioning went out, so you know how hot it
Oh,
gets, and so I'm just like, so if I start sweating, it's not because I'm on cocaine. It's because there's no air conditioning. So
I
we're
hope you're not on
surviving, but
cocaine's no fun anymore. It's got fentanyl in it now.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, you never were like the drug band, right? You were just more like the drinkers, right?
No, we were the drinker band for
Yeah.
sure. But all good, buddy. All good.
Yeah, because now and you're in California still, right? Southern California.
I am. Yeah, I'm in Orange County.
How is it over there? Because I know there was some stuff going on, and there was fires, hopefully that were contained. But I mean, you're kind of removed from the crazy stuff, right?
I'm in Yorba Linda with the crazy stuff with the protesters downtown.
Yes, yeah. There was
Yeah.
all the
I don't subscribe to anything of that like that. I think it's bullshit. I think you know, look, if we want to get into politics, I'll say this. I'm a middle of the road guy. I'm a reasonable adult. And I think that taxes and everything that taxes people pay for taxes should go to the people that pay the taxes. Period.
that's a
End of
radical
story.
idea. What are you?
So and
Yeah,
yet, I've got some friends that I know that aren't legal. They're here illegally. They've been here for a long time. They work hard. They speak great English. They're good people. They've got good families, and there needs to be a sensible solution to people like that. But as far as opening our borders to anybody, that's insane. That's insane. Anyways, we don't need to get into politics.
no, yeah. I just wanted to make sure you were safe because I mean, it looked kind of because I know there was the fires last year, and I know that was really, and I saw people on TV lighting the bushes on fire, like the whole immigration thing. I mean, that's a whole nother issue. I'm just saying, like the rioting stuff or whatever you want to call it, the chaos. I don't even know if those people are if that's why they're there. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, when you see people
Yeah.
lighting the bushes on fire in California, it's just really because they're like that can spread like it did last year, and that was really scary.
I think pretty much you should take people that do that and you should light them on fire. How's that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes you angry for sure. Yeah, you hate to see that.
Those
Like,
people that spend their whole lives working their ass off to buy a home, and if some asshole wants to light it on fire, you should just be able to light that person on fire.
I mean, yeah,
Or,
it makes
or
it.
better yet, you should catch them if they do it, and you should put it on TV and light them on fire and do a pay-per-view because I would pay $1,000 to watch that.
Yeah, it's like that movie, The Running Man, where they used to capture the
But
criminals and then they'd have a game for them to survive against the.
but they weren't criminals. That's the
That's
problem with
yeah,
that.
that was the problem with that one. Yeah, that's there's a lot of corruption in the world, unfortunately. But
There
yeah,
still is.
this
Yeah.
that's crazy. I was thinking about that with the riots though, because it reminded me of the '92 riots, and then Aerosmith wrote that really cool song, "Living on the Edge." I was like, that song is like still relevant today. It's like it's crazy how it's like we're going running in circles here. It's like,
So is Toys in the Attic and all that fun. Dream, draw the line, all that stuff still relevant. You
yeah,
think about it. I mean, everybody's a little crazy. Toys in the attic. That's what that means, right? You're a little
yeah.
crazy. But yeah, man, everything's good. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing yeah. Besides the AC thing, I'm doing. We're actually really good. I think my thing is like I kind of want to get your advice on this because I mean you started with Warrant. I mean you were in other bands I think, and you got Warrant, and then you guys grew this animal into this monster thing, and then there was a point where you just were like, I'm done, right? And then you took a hiatus for 10 years. And now you're back, and I think everyone's in a good place with the band, right? Like you guys all have your other things, so it's not your main source of income. But that time when you left, like was it more just kind of circumstantial, like to survive that you left? It wasn't like you hated being in a band and hated doing music.
No, it was exactly the opposite. I mean, I wasn't really in a good place, to be honest with you. And when you're in a band, you rely on the other three or four people in the band to get up in the morning and show up to work, so to speak, right? And I couldn't rely on that. There was one person that I couldn't rely on. And and I decided that I would take my, take my life into my own hands and be responsible for myself. So that's what I did. And, it wasn't fun being in school and being in class with a bunch of pocket protectors, dudes, and, and learning IT and data and everything I did, Microsoft certification. But in hindsight, it was probably one of the best things I ever did, because both Jerry and Eric have told me you didn't miss anything while you were
Hmm.
gone.
Hmm.
It was really dark for the band. And, I got an education and worked in private business for 8 years, and it's helped me today with what I do today with Pearl drums. I'm hitting my 20-year mark with Pearl in August, and it's a great bunch of people I work with at Pearl. They're some of the best in the industry. I've learned tons from guys that have master's degrees in economics and that have run businesses, and it's just a different world. Having a day gig and working in business and then being in a band. But this band has matured so much over the last 20 years. Just we're still friends. We've always been friends, Steven and Jerry and Eric and I, Um, Eric and I have known each other the longest of anybody, really, way before Warrant, a few years before Warrant even started. And, now Robert's been in the band longer than Jani ever was, you know. So I've been in a band longer with him, but it's like five grown-ups going on tour,
Hmm.
and everybody's smart. There's no low IQ guys. There's no passive aggressive. It's just if there's a business decision that's got to be made in this band, we sit down and we talk about it like adults, and everybody's got an opinion. And 9 out of 10 times when we roll out of a meeting, everybody's in a great mood. Every once in a while, you get a situation where you might disagree, but they're not. It's not a negative thing. It's always learning. Everybody always learns, and everybody's great. Everybody's in a good place. Band's never been in a better place. We've worked hard, man. I mean, I've been back in the band 20 years now, 21 years.
Yeah. Do you think that is a better decision to kind of make the band? It's kind of more like it basically, like, what do they call it now? The term is like a side hustle, right? Like, cause you've got your main gig at Pearl, and then you've got the band is kind of like, it's not just a hobby because you're making money, but it's a side hustle.
Well, Pearl has been around 80 years next year. So Pearl's a worldwide business. And I'm really blessed that, I take it I take it for granted sometimes my education really helped me out, to be honest with you. Knowing data and knowing how to navigate Excel spreadsheets and to close to the advanced stage, and just knowing how to communicate with people properly and not blow up and say the wrong thing when you get frustrated. There's frustrations everywhere. The band's taught me a lot of that, but the band is in a great place. The band financially is financially better now than we were in the heyday. So side hustle to me would be like, is it something where it's just kind of icing on the cake, and the band is a viable business,
Yeah.
It's
No.
not, I mean, 40 to 60 gigs a year. I mean, it's a very viable business. So,
So for some of the members, is it their only source of income and they don't have a day job?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And a great source of income,
Yeah.
well into six figures for everybody. I mean, I don't
Wow.
want to talk about money. It's not important, but Warrant has worked very, 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 very hard, and we've gotten to the place now to where it's a great business, and we're going to keep on going. And we've got some things, up our sleeve. We'll see what we do this year, maybe early next year, and it's all good. No
That's amazing
complaints.
to hear. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think you guys have made it a good business plan, because one of the things you do is you don't have the tour bus, right? And you don't have the record company on your back. You're just doing shows, and they're flying dates. So you don't have all the equipment and all the gear, or the crew and all that, right? I mean, it's very bare bones for a lot of that
We
stuff.
have 5 band members and 4 crew members. 1 crew member handles merchandise, and that's a great business for us on
Mhm.
the road at shows. And then we've got a stage left tech, a stage right tech, and then a tour manager that does front of house. Our stage left tech, KJ, does Robert and I, and then he also does our monitors. And then our stage right tech does Jerry when he's out, which is once every blue moon. Pretty much Robbie Crane, Eric, and then he helps set up the drums, and then he plays keyboards for like Down Boy. We forever we played those songs, and it was just missing the down. The stuff you hear behind them, like there's chink, there's piano, and I Saw Red. There's the banjo in Uncle Tom's Cabin was played on an emulator. It's not a banjo on the record. And he plays that stuff live.
Hmm.
So that's James, and then Kelly does front of house, and we call him the tour mangler. He's a better front of house engineer but we've got a very tight ship. We don't use a tour bus; it's a waste of money, and we fly in and out of every gig, and we drive. I drove almost 5 hours Saturday from Farmington, Pennsylvania, all the way up to Elmira to go play tags. So there's a band van that's got 5 band guys in it, and then there's 2 crew bands with gear. We take enough gear to get through a show, and backlines on the rider, and that's what we do.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And then I think the other thing that you're doing that a lot of bands are doing is the meet and greet thing. I mean, that's got to be a big chunk of change there because I think there's like $100 one that's kind of the bare bones, and then there's the $200 one where you get the custom skateboard. I mean, it's a lot of cool stuff in there. You get like a bunch of merch with it too, signed glossy and like guitar picks, I think. And
yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'd say 9.9 out of 10 people have a good time. You get to come in, you get to say hi to the band, you get a picture. We hang out while we sign something for you, and then that's it, and we sometimes there's 20 people, sometimes there's 4 people. It's an opportunity there for everybody. It's just another opportunity for income for the band, because basically, we make money touring. That's how
right.
the band makes money. um I mean, we haven't had a proper record deal since Sony Columbia, from my perspective, and we still have catalog with them, and we're square with them. So there's all kinds of different revenue streams. But as far as business is concerned, I'm really proud to say that this business is viable. The guys that manage the portion of the business that's the money do a great job, and no complaints. And I'm coming from, a guy that's worked for Pearl, which is a huge company worldwide, and I'm right under that executive level at senior sales, and I know enough to get in trouble. But seeing how a major corporation like Pearl works, and seeing how Warrant works, Warrant's run pretty well. No drama. There's no drama. There's no infighting. There's no low IQ band members. Do you know what I mean? There's just
Yeah.
no people.
Was
We
it
go
was there
in.
ones in the past or in other bands or something? Or
There's a lot of low IQ musicians out there. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's unfortunate. They probably don't think they are, but I'd love to give everybody an IQ test. In the industry, they think they've got the egos because they've sold records, but just because you've sold records and you're successful doesn't mean you're smart. I know a lot of rich people that aren't smart. There's a difference, and it is what it is. It is what
Yeah.
it is.
No, I mean, well, because besides, you're obviously the bands that you've been in and your band members, you guys have toured with so many. I mean, you've done shows with almost every band. Although I think I tried to figure out, had you ever done a show with AC/DC? And I don't think you have.
No, I would have loved to do that, but no. I mean, I've seen them millions of times, and I never saw them with Bond. Eric saw them with Bond. Eric saw the Highway to Hell
Oh,
tour.
wow.
The first one I saw was Back in Black. But yeah, just one of the all-time greats. We've never played with Van Halen.
Oh, I thought, well, you did with David Lee Roth shows, right?
Yeah, but it was not Edward. I mean, if we played with Van Halen, I would have been sitting on Edward's side like a groupie. I mean, You know, it's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. So, and a lot of guys from my era. But yeah, never played with Van Halen, but did shows with Dave. Saw Dave's last show at M3.
How was
That's
it?
it. A plus, A plus
Really?
plus plus plus.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't often go online and read reviews, but I wanted to see what people thought of Dave.
Yeah, I saw mixed. I saw people either said A plus or it was terrible. They walked out of the show. It was so bad. That's what.
I don't know what the people that walked out of the show expected. I
Yeah.
swear, I saw Van Halen on their second worldwide tour. It was 1979, maybe, or 1980. I don't know which year, but it was the second record. It was at the LA Sports Arena. And Dave is 70. I know Dave enough to, you know, to say hi and have a conversation. Toured with Dave, hung out with Dave on a few occasions, and I thought the band was fantabulous. Is that a word? Um,
It is now.
Al, the guitar player, killer. I mean, look, had the great tone, played Eddie's licks great. The backup guys were fantastic. The set list was insane. I don't know what people were expecting, you know? I mean, he's not David of 1979, 1980. He's 70 years old. People don't understand how hard it is to keep your instrument as a singer well for that long. You know, guitar players, all we have to worry about is, split calluses, or if you get old, you can get arthritis, you know? So you just, you try to take care of it. But as a singer, and I sing in our band, um, but just backgrounds, but I really envy like the singers that have really kept it together. Mickey Hart, is one of them. He can still nail those notes. It's not an easy thing to do for those guys.
Yeah,
Time rolls
Steven
on.
Tyler's the one that I couldn't believe that because those are some really hard notes to hit.
Yeah. I mean, and if you watch like stuff of Gene Simmons, even though he's got a very unique voice, he's still nailing it. You see people like John Bon Jovi can't do it anymore. I don't know if he had a bad surgery or what. Um, Paul Stanley had some hard time, you know, um, and it's understandable. I mean, it's not you're not relying on an instrument. It's right here. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys know how to sing, but if this isn't in good shape and doesn't show up, you're out of the game. I mean, Robert Mason I'm 61 in a few weeks, man. You just get older. So to see people not like the Dave thing, um, it really makes me feel sorry for those people because I don't know what they were expecting, you know?
Right.
I
Well, and
thought
I
it
think
was
that was
gonna
the thing. Is a lot of people said he's never been like a amazing singer. His thing was all like his shtick, and he was a front man. He's an amazing front man. He's still moving and dancing around and stuff. But I mean, he struggles a little bit with the notes. Yeah, that's understandable for his age.
nobody's in their 20s anymore. He did fantastic. And the band was fantastic. And I would pay to go see it again. And I don't do that often. I don't go out, but I would pay to go see David again.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
you typically would get a free ticket to a lot of these shows, right? You have a connection or somebody, or
Yeah, I don't ask. If I want to go to a show, I'll hit somebody and say, "Hey, I'd like to buy tickets to come to your show." I always offer because it's a business.
sure.
And I live in basically Southern California, Orange County. I don't want to take some money out of somebody's pocket. That's not who I am. So I'll offer, and if they say, "Hey, we got you covered," are you sure? I'm not asking for that. But if they want to do that, that's okay. But I don't ever ask that. I need to get on your guest list. I don't do that because
Right.
I don't appreciate it when people do it to us. And to be honest with you, 9 out of 10 shows for us, our guest list is empty because we just don't. When I play in Des Moines, Iowa, I don't know a lot of people from Des Moines, Iowa. Do you know what
Sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if
No, I feel the
somebody,
same way. I don't, I feel weird asking that. And I've interviewed a lot of musicians, but I'm like, why am I, it doesn't feel like, because then it's awkward if they say no too. Then you're like,
sometimes you don't have, sometimes your deal with the promoter is that
yeah.
you only get 10 guests, you know, and
If people
if, you know,
offer, I will take up the offer. I've
yeah,
had
and
some
I mean,
people
if
be
somebody
very
calls up,
nice, but
if somebody calls up and says, hey, I'm coming to your show, and I look at the guest list and we've got 20 spots and there's one on it, I'd say, hey, do you need a few tickets? And you know, or if you go, hey, I bought some tickets, I'll say, hey, here's some passes. We'll see you after the show. And you know, it's different, but it's a business, you know, and you gotta really respect the promoters too, because you know it's their money as well, right?
yeah, I was trying to remember who I had on that was telling me. So a lot of bands get taken advantage with stuff like that. Like people, I'm trying to remember who it was. I feel like it was somebody in the Motley Crue camp that said people would show up and like, and then they would expect like not only to get like backstage or to go to the show, but they expected to get free merch. They're like, okay, what I want like a T-shirt,
Yeah.
I want this, and it's like, whoa, like you're really taking advantage, bro.
I don't know very many people like that. If we have somebody like that, we only see them at one show and then we'll never see them again. How's that?
Right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But there's probably a lot of bands that are trying to be nice. And I mean, wasn't that the thing like with the MC Hammer behind the music that, you know, he just tried to help too many of his friends and that's why he went bankrupt?
I think that that guy probably had a really good heart. I never met him. He probably had a really good heart and got taken advantage of from a bunch of people that did not. And it's unfortunate, you know.
Right.
I work really hard with the band and Pearl. I probably do average 70 hours a week, you know, when we're touring, which is a lot. And sometimes, you know, 20, 30 days on. So, you know, and I've got a family, so I want to take care of my family. You know, I'm when there's an opportunity to do something for charity, we step right up all the time, you know. So you got to. It's part of it's your responsibility if you're doing well. But as far as entitlement goes and people that are entitled to things, the people are entitled, they're gonna be waiting for a long time because there's not a lot of gifts, you know. Get over it. You know, nobody's going to help you, man. The
Right.
sooner you realize that you're the only one that's going to help you is yourself, the better off you are. Get
No,
up and work, you
that's
know?
so spot on. I don't know if you're a fan of David Goggins, but I just love that guy. And that's his message. And he had a shit life. He had a shit childhood and he figured
Yeah.
it out, lost weight, joined the Navy SEALs and like, and you know, now he's just
Right.
picking it. And that's what he'll tell you. He's like, look, no one's coming to save you. You got to figure it
Yeah.
out yourself. He's like,
Yeah. If you
even I
sit
can't
there,
save you.
yeah. Yeah. And another thing, it's like I've been through enough therapy in my life. There's the old you know, the NASCAR circuit of life. You're always taking a left turn, so you're going in circles and circles and circles. And if something's not going good in your life or you want to change something, you've got to take a right turn and get off that track sometime and
Hmm.
just disrupt the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So is
but
that kind of like
that's
when you left the band the first time? That's kind of what it was. Cause like that
that was
always
a
just,
right turn.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like, there was a part of you though that was sad to give up the glamour and the dream. Like, did you feel like your dream was dying and now you've got to go get a real job and all? I mean, there had to have been some sadness and some loss.
There was definitely loss because I wasn't hanging out with my buddies like I was, you know, and those relationships to this day are treasured. You know, I love my guys in my band. We're like brothers, you know. So there was the loss. It was never about what happened for me is it became about money.
Mm.
And when you do anything solely for money, it's soulless. That has no purpose. You know, money's fine. Having money is better than not having money for sure. But doing something just for money is soulless. You have to have a purpose. You have to, that's what drives you. Why do you get up every morning? You get up every morning just because you're dying to get up, or you get up every morning because you're excited about what the day is going to send you. You know, if it's something from my band, if it's something from Pearl, if it's some challenge at Pearl that I didn't have yesterday, if my vice president tells me who I talk to every day of the week, you know, I want you to do this and this and this and this, and he puts some pressure on me to get something done in a timeline. That's what makes me tick. And if I don't have that, I could get in trouble because you know, I'm a little mischievous. You know, I mean, I just recently, and I don't talk about it and I don't want to talk about it, but I haven't drank in almost 2 years, no alcohol. And I'm not a guy that publicizes it online. Oh, I got a month, I got 2 months. I tell my band guys and I tell my wife, and that's it. You know, and I'm proud of it and I feel great. And it's made a lot of difference in my life. Not that I ever had a bad problem, but when I drank, I was really good at it, you know, really
Sure.
good.
Well, yeah, and I
With
think
a,
the older, and I
with
mean,
a
I have these
smirk on my
conversations
face.
with a lot of musicians, and it's a similar path, whether they had a problem or not. But yeah, I mean, just the older you get, you've got to
Like, yeah.
rein
And
it in.
playing, I mean, playing the band, because Robert's sober, I'm sober. Nobody really drinks a lot in this band anymore, and the band sounds way better because of it. Go figure. And you know, we're paying attention, we're jamming before every show, we're backstage playing half a dozen songs and maybe dialing in on one song vocally where we work on the harmonies, you know, 30 minutes before we go on, we're back there doing that. So it's just, you know, where we used to just be partying and having fun, right? So now it's, you know, and this has happened in the last 3 or 4 years. The band's really just changed course for the better, you know?
That's good to hear. So, do you think that now that you've been able to do that and you're more serious, do you think that you would add different songs to the set list that maybe before you're like, that one's like a little too
Well,
complicated?
this one we've got Riding High's been in the set this year. I'm the guy, I'm the Quasimodo music director for Warrant. So
Right.
Bonfire's in the set this year.
Oh, I love that song.
So you know, we're thinking about putting in Quicksand or, you know,
Ooh,
so we like to mix it up but there's certain songs everybody wants to hear, you know. I mean,
sure, of course. Yeah, yeah.
I can tell you that we've done every song off the first two records in the last 5 years except for one, In the Sticks. We've never played that
Hmm.
live for a long time.
Why?
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we should dig it up. It's always fun
Yeah.
because it's challenging because we haven't played it in, you know, decades. Um, so we'll see, you know, and then there's some off of Louder, Harder, Faster. You know, Devil Dancers, phenomenal, or Only Broken Heart. We played that live, you know, for a while. So there's stuff, you know,
What
you'll
about the
see.
songs off Born Again? Because I mean, I know that was a different
You
singer
know
then,
what?
but
That record, I like that record musically. I think some of the lyric content's a little questionable just because the stuff we did on the first three records, Jani was such a wordsmith, right?
mhm.
And then, you know, but I like that. I like that record. I really do. There's some great grooves on that record, but I don't think live, you know, it's like one of those records that just nobody, unless you're a hardcore fan, nobody knows, you
I'm a
know?
hardcore fan. Yeah. I mean, I was
That
also
is,
going to say like the two that you were not there for, Ultraphobic and Belly to Belly. Like, have you ever performed any of those songs since you rejoined?
no, I haven't. I think Eric sent me one of those records and I listened to it once. But I haven't, if I've listened to those records, it hasn't been more than once.
So like when that came out, you had left the band. They didn't send you a copy or you didn't go to the record store. Cause that's like kind of like seeing your ex-girlfriend with a new boyfriend or something, right?
Well, that's not really a big deal. When you leave something like that, I didn't leave on bad terms. I just left because I couldn't count on it being a viable business at the time.
Sure.
You know, because
But you
one
weren't
person,
curious about like what the new record sounded like. I mean, I knew you'd heard some of those songs like Stronger Now and stuff had been around, but
yeah, but I mean, in some of those I demoed and then they changed, you know.
mm,
So I heard both records at least once, and that was it, you know. So playing any of that live, I don't even sign those records. If somebody brings a record to a venue and wants me to sign it and I'm not on it, I will absolutely not sign it. I think it's a kind of a slight at the people who did record,
mm,
you know? So it's like an our meet and greets, people come with cherry pie, and Robbie Crane will not sign any of those. And Robert's like, I'll sign it if you want me to, you know, but I did not plan on this,
mm.
you know, and it just depends on what the people want. If the people want you to sign it, you sign it. So, but Robbie won't.
Mm.
And that's okay. You know, Robbie's been playing in this band for since COVID came back, right? So let's just say we averaged 50 gigs since 2021. That's 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's 5 years. So Robbie's done 250 shows with us. Maybe Jerry's done maybe 10 in there,
Hmm.
but Jerry's semi-retired and Robbie's happy and Robbie's great.
Yeah,
I mean, when Jerry comes back and plays, it's Jerry. Then you got the core of the band together, right?
sure.
But Robbie is the closest damn. I mean, I don't have to turn around and wonder what's going on. Robbie's there, and he injected some new energy in the band because he's got a different work ethic when it comes to practicing and things like that you get stale of.
Yeah.
You're playing the same songs for 35 years. You're like, I don't need to practice that. I played it forever. But when you do, you get better, just like anything.
Yeah, I was always curious though, because I remember seeing Robbie Crane, like, I think it was a picture or video or something. And I was like, wait, is Jerry still in the band? I was so confused. Like, how come you guys didn't put out a press release? Because now I get it. Jerry is technically still the bass player. Robbie's kind of more like a substitute, but he's kind of like pretty much the long-term substitute, right?
I don't know what to call it. I mean, he's our touring bass player. How's that?
Okay. There you go. Yeah, that's fair.
And I love him like a brother, and we're lucky to have him. And he likes it because there's zero drama. There's zero drama in my band. I can't remember when the last, like anything, argument or anything happened in Warrant. It doesn't happen. Our crew is fantastic. When we roll into a venue, be it a theater or a casino or whatever, we tell everybody hi. We're all in great moods, man. We're like, hey, how's it going? We thank everybody that works there, on the road crew, the local crew. We thank everybody, and we're really that's what makes it happen. And we roll in there, we do our gig, we roll out. There's no drama. There's no bullshit. Nobody breaks anything. Nobody, we used to have food fights and stupid shit that young guys do, but that's slowly, gone away, and now we're just glad to be there and we're having fun and it's important for everybody to have a good time at a show. Even the opening bands, we don't restrict opening bands for lights or sound, or we're not a band that does an hour-long sound check. We do 2 or 3 songs a mix and we get out and we give the other bands a shot. We've done some shows this year with Lita Ford, which is fantastic. We've done shows with Firehouse, fantastic. Nate's doing a great job. We lost CJ, which is horrible, and we all miss him and still say a lot of great stories about him when we're in the dressing room. Bullet Boys Lonnie's back in the band, so they got 2 out of 4, and they're great right now. They're in a good
Oh yeah.
good place.
I saw them
So,
down here in Arizona. They sounded really good. And I was like 2 inches from them. Like you could
yeah.
just get right up to it. It was nice.
Yeah. So we like doing shows with them. Mealy, Steelheart's great. Whoever's around from our genre will love it.
Yeah. When you do shows with Lita, who's the headliner? Because you both have a lot of good hits.
So when she came back out, she headlined for a while and then it flip-flopped. So that's a promoter's call. That is not our call. So, to be honest with you, I like to be second on the bill because you play an hour set and you're out of there back in your hotel room by 10, chilling, and you get sleep. It's not easy out on the road. It's a lot of, 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and then you have to get up at 5 a.m. to go to the airport to go to the next gig. It's not some glamorous thing. But yeah, whatever works. But we could, like the other night at Tags in Big Flats, New York, we Lita played for an hour. Then Dee Snider came up and played with her band for a half hour, and then we closed the show with an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, Dee Snider. You talk about a guy who could still hit the notes. That's another one I've seen. Like, he killed it when I saw. I mean, he only does like 2 or 3 songs a lot of times, but
yeah,
he kills it.
Every time I see him, I'm like, put a band back together and Everybody wants to see, and he just doesn't want to do that big thing. And he comes out and he does. He nails it. He's fantastic, and he's a great guy, you know. So yeah, it doesn't matter to us. We're not like we're the band that gets on. We go on time. We get off on time. Period. We don't take it. We don't take advantage of anybody else's time. We don't take advantage of a venue's time. Anything. We just like to come in, do our job, and split. That's it.
Yeah, you say that, and you keep saying there's no drama. Like you're saying that like there is in other bands. Like that's a very common thing, and not in Warrant, but in other bands, there's a lot of these problems.
I know personally a lot of other bands that have massive drama still. And the dudes are like 50s and 60s. It's like at some point you just have to go, you know what? I don't subscribe to that bullshit, you know? And it comes along with IQ,
Is
you
it
know?
IQ or is it ego or both?
I think it's IQ. I think that people that are smart don't subscribe to that and that they know how to communicate with other adults effectively and reasonably without screaming or throwing a temper tantrum at 60 some odd years old. Okay. And I know that
Have you seen this? Have you witnessed these tantrums?
Oh my God. I wish I could tell you who.
Oh, I wanted.
But I'm not, I can't, I'm not that guy.
Okay.
You know,
That's a very
I'm
classy
not
move
talk,
on your part.
I'm not going to talk shit. I'm going to tell you that I know a lot of bands that subscribe to our way of life, which
Yeah.
I know I've been around every time we play around the Tesla guys, they're fantastic. I've never seen a stitch of drama in that band.
That's funny because
You
I
know?
had on the bass player and he was saying like I mean, they must have cleaned up now because he said they used to have physical knockdown fights. He said they'd call them discussions, but they would get physical. It was arguing about
Every
stuff.
band, every band when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, you grow, but I'm sure those
Yeah.
guys by now are just like you get to a point in your career where you're playing, you love to play. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Okay. You love the songs, you love to play, you want to get better. You want to like right now, what I want to do is I want it to make it sound as much like a record as I can. Okay. Every single note. Every single note I sing, every single note I play, you know, and playing with people for 30 plus years, you kind of become one unit, you know what I mean? You know, you got the five, I've done this so many times, you get the five fingertips and then you put it together, it makes a fist, right? That's a band. This is the five members, that's a band. And when you play for so long and the same songs for so long, no matter who you are, if you've had hits, you got to play those hits. Sooner or later, Chuck, you get really good at that,
Sure.
you know, and sooner or later, you know, the drama that comes along with some of it, you just get tired of it. And the guys that can't get it out of their own head, you see them not in bands anymore. You don't see them invited back to do tours or reunions. You see different guys come in. So you can put one and one together and figure out who the dudes are out there that are drama filled and that just can't cohabitate with other band members. You know, the Night Ranger guys, another band that's just full of fun. I don't see any, when we play there, there's no drama. They're just stoked to be there and they kick ass, you know, and they're happy guys. So it's really, and it translates to the stage, you know?
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
sometimes with the drama stuff and you say the low IQ, do you think sometimes it's a person that maybe they never really should have been successful, but they kind of hitched their wagon to somebody who was talented, and then so now they're kind of
No,
stuck with these people?
I think that all of the guys I grew up on, all the bands I grew up with, probably a lot of the bands you like too. I think that those original incarnations that were successful because of the whole,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not one or two guys. Um, and when you start to splinter that and get different guys in there, it's different and it doesn't sound the same no matter what you do. Um, so I don't think so. I think that they just, you know, the guys that maybe are low IQ as far as business is concerned or how to deal with other people, um, are better musicians than people. How's that?
Sure. No,
You
that's
know,
and that's the same as like actors and athletes and a lot of those
right,
people that are successful,
right.
business people that are, I mean, they're just assholes. in real life, you know, like like you see their social media posts or whatever, but they're very successful in business.
Yeah. I like to hang out with successful, positive people.
There you go. I
You
love
know?
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it breeds that, and I try to do that every day with my family. I just want everybody to wake. You got to wake up happy, you know. I mean, if you wake up breathing, you're stoked. That's all you got, right? And then anything else that comes around, take it. If you get an opportunity, oh my God, take it, you know? I've had opportunity and I've had no opportunity, and opportunity is way better,
Did
you
you ever
know?
have opportunities outside of Warrant? Like when you were on the hiatus, did you get offered gigs that to join
Gigs,
other bands?
if I kept playing and kept up on my craft guitar wise when I left Warrant, I probably could have found a gig, you know,
Sure.
because you get good when you play a lot, and you know there's different for a guitar player, not necessarily flashy, but you know rhythm's hard to play for a lot of guys. Having a good right hand on a guitar, there's some guys that don't, you
Hmm.
know, and they're great lead players, but they can't play rhythm real well. You know, so I'm pretty balanced, but I didn't really worry about it. And to be honest with you, when it started, when it caught to the top and started to go down down the roller coaster in the mid '90s, and I left, it was just natural for me progression to go on and just to worry about myself. I had a young daughter. I had to really kind of reinvent myself, and you know, it wasn't easy watching my buddies out on the road, you know, and sure, I missed them. And sure, it sucked being in school, you know, until 9 o'clock at night and having to study for a test. But it made me who I am now. And it made me appreciate my band a lot more as well, you know, when it came back around. And we've worked since I came back in 2004. It's been 21 years. We've worked really hard collectively to get it to where it is, you know, and it's great. You know, we're having a great time. We all get along fabulously.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, you are doing a lot of shows. I think there's still like 16 shows coming up this year
We
alone.
have 22 booked right now, so there's a few
Oh,
that you might not see because they haven't
okay.
gone on sale. But yeah, so between 45 and 55 shows a year. You know, some of us would like to do 75. You know, um, it'd be a lot of work for me, so it might. You know, I get a little stretchy, you know, like that Stretch Armstrong where I get my legs getting pulled that way. You know, you got
Right.
family over here, you got Pearl over here, you got the band over here, you know. But but it keeps you out of trouble working. That's another thing too. And the more you work, the less money you spend. You know, you don't have time to spend it. So you can do things like let your family live well and enjoy some of that stuff. So it's you know, it's just I'm really really blessed to be where I'm at, but it's also been with a lot of really hard work.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that goes without saying just what you did. And I like what you said about how you appreciate it more having that hiatus. I think that that's something that you're right. There's a lot of people that just feel entitled now that they deserve this certain level of, you know, success or whatever. That they're kicked out of their bands because they're assholes.
You said it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty much it, bro. If you're a cool dude and you're an original member in a band and you're not in the band, check your shit. Quite honestly, you know,
Yeah.
you at a certain point, you know, and look, I've got a young son, okay? And he's 13, so he's like every other 13-year-old. He's doing shit I did when I was 13 that I thought was fine, but my parents probably didn't appreciate it much. Like I don't appreciate some of the stuff he does now either. But one thing I'm trying to teach him to do is take responsibility. Okay. And if you do something that's not cool, take responsibility. That doesn't mean you're a bad kid or, you know, it just means that you have to own up to your own shit. And the quicker you own up to your own shit, the better a person you become. You know, don't blame it on somebody else. Don't say the reason why I'm not in this band right now is because this guy doesn't like me. He doesn't like you for a reason, probably because you're an asshole, you know, and you're not fun to be around. That's probably why. It's probably not your playing. If you're an original member and you're not in your band touring, it's not your playing because that magic is real. That's part of that glove, that
Mhm.
glove that makes that fist. But if you're not there, there's a reason why. Check your shit. Go get some therapy, figure it out. Do a deep dive on yourself. It's educational. It's not bad to get an education from somebody that's got a master's degree or a PhD in how your mind works and how you treat other people. It's just education, responsibility. Be responsible. That's it.
Did you do some of that yourself? Like that you did your own?
Therapy?
Yeah, like or just work on yourself. Like you reflected back and felt like you maybe made some bad decisions or.
I go to the rapist, as I call her, the therapist.
God, careful. We're
Okay.
canceled now. Shit.
I know, no, we're not canceled. The therapist, the
Yes.
rapist. Okay.
Okay.
They rape your mind. I don't go right now, but I've been plenty. It's
Yeah.
education, man. It's just like going to school. Why do I feel like this? Why am I pissed off every time I get around this person and I just want to punch him in the face?
No, I find all
Um,
that stuff. I actually I have a master's in counseling, so
there
I
you
love
go.
psychology and I love all that stuff.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Responsibility. There you go. It's and it's just like it's like going to a mechanic and saying, "What's wrong with my car?" And the mechanic finds the problem and shows you what the problem is. You get an education, you go, "Oh, that's cool. Next time that happens or I hear that sound, maybe I can fix it." It's the same analogy. So whenever I get a feeling that I know I'm going to blow up and start going off, I think first. I've got all kinds of rules. Like if something makes you that agitated, wait an hour, put it away for an hour and see if it bugs you in an hour. It ain't going to bug you in an hour. Don't pop off. Be cool. Be a bro. Be a good friend. Be a good listener. Be a good business partner. It has to do with all that. So yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree. I think that's it can be very beneficial. It's funny because I feel like I've learned more from just watching podcasts and YouTube and stuff, listening to David Goggins and motivational guys like that. I learned so much that I never learned in school. I was like, oh wow, that's such a great perspective to have from that.
perspective is everything. And some of those guys out there are very motivational. You got to watch out. There's some snake oil salesmen out there. And
Sure.
you don't want to buy onto that shit. But as far as emotions and how to manage your emotional being is it's an art form for sure. And some of these guys have really got a hold of it. And it's cool. And I learn and read stuff every day that teaches me something. And I still 20% of the time I'm still an asshole. you know everybody's everybody's got it.
Sure.
You just try to minimize that as much as you can. you know and perspective is a very powerful thing. It's like being in a band. I could say I'm not happy with the direction of this band. you know or I could say, wow, look at everything we've done, and how lucky are we or fortunate are we to be where we're at, to playing these little mini theaters and or theaters and mini arenas and mini amphitheaters and casinos and state fairs that we do, and we're still together and we're still alive and people still want to come out. There's a few thousand people here and there. It's like we're stoked. We never made it to the big arena band all the time thing. We got a taste of it after Cherry Pie for a while, and that was great. But really, what's great is that there's still people that want to come out and hear it, and we owe it to them to be honest and give them a good show. You know,
Yeah, I've seen you guys several times and it's always been great.
that's good. Well, then you haven't seen any of the shitty shit because there's been some.
Has there?
Every band has them, man.
Sure.
Every band has them. But yeah, but it's just recently, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, it's just stepped up, to another level playing wise. I mean, we could go into bands that played a tape live, and I could name bands and shred them apart and tell them that they should not be on stage anymore. playing here. I've been thinking about a really good way to say this, okay? Because I have dogs. I don't know if you have dog. You have got any animals?
Yeah, I've got cats, and they're
Okay.
struggling with no AC, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but
Make
they're
sure
doing
they
okay.
got plenty of water, right?
Yeah.
So this is what, I got a male dog and a female dog. Well, they're both neutered. I take care of my pets. They're Chihuahuas, okay?
Oh, okay. Those
I
are,
love
yeah,
my,
they have a certain personality.
yeah, I love them. They're great, okay? But sometimes the male who's neutered will grab a blanket, and go at it. He'll like dry hump a blanket, okay? And having a band that has once been so powerful live, 110% live, played a tape or any help or a G, a Mac in the back that's got 96 tracks on it, and you don't hear them because the engineer out front's really good at blending, but it's still there, okay? And they're fucking lip syncing and playing the track. Okay, they might be playing live too on top of it, but it's like watching a neutered dog dry hump a blanket. Okay,
Okay, that's a great analogy.
that's how I feel about it. It's just like it's fake. It's like there's nothing there. And I know bands that do it. I could tear them apart right now and just draw and maybe somebody picks up on this, on this, but I don't want to be negative. Like we've talked about keeping it positive. But I will
Sure.
just say to those bands, and they know who they are, that all you have to do is practice and you'll get good. Because there's if you've fallen off your horse and you can't sing anymore and you drink, stop drinking for a year. Work on your voice. I was at Phil Collin from Def Leppard's house with CC DeVille, and I went down last two Decembers ago to have a coffee with Phil. We all live kind of close. We're all friends, and it was like three dudes talking about, oh, this hurts. This is funny, right? But we started talking about our singers, you know? And Phil told me that Joe Elliott, when they're on tour, practices like 6 to 8 hours a day to warm his voice up. Now,
Wow.
I got to take my hat off to Joe Elliott because that tells you a guy that cares about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And because I've seen Joe I saw Joe in the beginning, a huge Def Leppard fan. Then I worked at Jackson Charvel, so I met Phil because he's plays Jackson guitars. This is back in the '80s. Then I hung out with Phil and Steve back in, Steve Clark, but Phil and I have known each other 30 plus years. And to hear him tell me that his singer cares enough that he works that hard to sound good for people is so motivating to me, and it
Hmm.
makes me want to hug Joe Elliott because that's discipline, man. And every guy that's out there that does this, that's of age like me, that's what it takes. Especially these singers. It's not, like I said earlier, it is not easy. Robert Mason, that guy takes care of his body like no other guy I know. The guy looks like he's 20. When he takes his shirt off, he's in such great shape, and he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs. He brushes his teeth 2 minutes before we go on because it helps his mouth. It's like I'm over there like burping up onions from lunch. It's funny, but to see guys take it seriously like that, that's off to them, man. And the guys that play the tape, you know, come on.
Well, so what did Cece say about Brett? Because I've seen him a few times, and I mean, he sounds great too. And I think when I saw the Poison Def Leppard crew tour, everyone was saying that Poison stole the show, and it was hard to disagree with that because they did sound really good.
Here's the deal with Poison and Brett, because we've done shows with Brett. Brett's a fantastic frontman, and Brett knows how to run a crowd, period. He's learned from the best. Um, I think that back when they were in Pennsylvania, they probably borrowed a little bit from Kix, to be honest with you. And Stevie from Kix was, I know he's retired now, but one of the best frontman I've ever seen in our genre. Just like the Mick Jagger of what we did. That's Stevie. and a lot of dudes borrowed from that guy. You know, Brett did, and then Brett's got his own personality as well, and he's really good at what he does. You know, and then because they don't tour that much, by the time they get out, I think they're so fucking excited to play. The band's great. You know, I know CC works his ass off before. He doesn't have a bad thing to say. The only thing he wishes is that he wished they played, you know, and that they Poison played, because he tells me that, you know, they're playing the same songs that he helped write, you know, or wrote, and he'd just like to get out there and do that himself with his band. I think, you know, I don't want to put words in his mouth because, you know, it's not what it's about, but I know that he would love to do a tour with Poison. I'm sure they'll work it out sooner or later.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
know. I think Brett was going through some stuff, but I think they're planning for 2026, if I'm not mistaken. I think they even announced it, or so I don't know if they have the dates set, but
Oh, there's a lot to it. There's four guys in the band that have to get together. They have to
sure.
agree on the money. Then
Yeah.
you got to get the company behind it, Live Nation or whoever's going to get behind it, and find out who the openers are and how many dates you can handle each other, and see what it's like. There's a lot to it, man. It's people think it's all happy and fun, and sometimes it's not, you know, sometimes it's just business, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think, and it's different too, because when you watch like The Dirt, you go, "Oh wow, like rock and roll is crazy." And I think there was that time, but yeah, a lot of bands of your era. I mean, you guys are older now. Like if you were still living the dirt, it'd be kind of scary, and you probably
Yeah,
wouldn't live too long.
you'd be in the dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why a lot of guys don't, you know, don't do that anymore. You know, I know, like when I'm around, like for instance, you know, Mark and Lonnie and Bullet Boys, they don't drink, you know. So you just, you know, and you can't at some point you can't be successful and do what you do well if you're just dependent on that shit, because it'll break you down quickly when you get older.
yeah. I mean, we've seen too many. Obviously, Jani Lane is, an
It's
example of
horrible.
that. Sadly, it's just too
It's
much
horrible.
talent wasted there. I mean, you hate to see that because the
It's
guy's such a brilliant songwriter, amazing frontman, and
I,
just too
I'll
young.
tell you what, I just heard when we did the demos for Dog Eat Dog, we did them with an engineer called Joe Barisi. His name's Joe Barisi. We were going to do the record with him. Okay, we didn't end up doing it with him, but he's moving his studio. He's in Pasadena, and I'm here in SoCal. So I got a hold of him, and he said, "I've got all these tapes. I want you to come up and get them." And digitizing everything. And there's 6 songs on those demos. Some of them are out on the internet here and there in different
Huh.
forms, but there are 6 songs demoed from the Dog Eat Dog sessions that I'd listened to in the last month.
Oh,
And
I'm very intrigued on this.
yeah, Eric's heard them, Steven's heard them. Like Steven and I listened to him sitting in my hotel room a few weeks ago at a gig before we went to sound check. And so I don't know what we're going to do with this stuff, but some of it's insane. Some of it's like, wow, if we would have put these 6 songs on Dog Eat Dog, except for instead of these 6, it could have been the second Cherry Pie. There's a song called Pop Music
I
that I
love
haven't
that. So,
heard.
yeah, we talked about that last time.
Yeah,
I've heard that one. That one's on the internet.
yeah, yeah. It's on the internet, but I don't know in what form. I don't
Okay.
know if I'm playing on it or if it's somebody else or whatever.
Oh,
But this is right before Dog Eat Dog was actually
oh.
recorded, and
And
even
there
the
was a
demos
song
for
I heard too called "Get Me Off" that sounded good.
that's old. That's like pre-first record.
Okay. Yeah, because
Have you heard?
I
Is
think pop
Keeping Up
music
with
is
the
one of the few that
Joneses?
I.
Is
What?
Keeping Up with the Joneses out there?
That's out. Yeah, that's on Greatest and Latest, I think, and Southern
Okay.
Comfort
Southern Comfort was from the Cherry Pie demos, I think.
and Thin
Um,
Disguise is out there.
yeah, that's not it. I'm trying to think of other songs. Medicine Man. You ever heard of that one?
I've heard of, yeah, I think that's on YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot. I was looking today. There's like 60 demos on YouTube of Warrant, like from all,
Wow.
like probably a lot of the stuff I think is even from Plain Jane, his other band.
Yeah, I know there's some of that out there because Steven found it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear more stuff from Dog Eat Dog. I don't think there's a lot of Dog Eat Dog stuff other than I did hear pop music, but yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
curious to hear that.
I'd have to hear it to tell you if it were us, but I'm looking like right now and it doesn't show me Medicine Man, but you never know. But we'll see. I mean, if we dig deep and we can do anything with some of that, who knows, who knows.
Yeah, because I think you guys talked about a box set, which I think I would be really interested in. There was some video and stuff that the making of Dog Eat Dog that's never been seen before.
Dude, there's so many home videos you have no idea. And they're funniest. I mean, it shows you how funny we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Most of it's PG and it's funny shit. It's, throwing TVs out the window and launching shit into water and just idiot rock star stuff that you do when you're young, and there's a lot of videos.
Yeah. I mean, when you look
We'll
back
see.
on that stuff, you can look back and laugh, but it'd be silly if you were doing it today, but you could still
Oh
enjoy it
yeah, no.
retroactively.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
you do that when you're in your 20s, and I mean I threw a phone out a window. I didn't throw it. I actually opened the window and just dropped it out a 9-story window in Japan, in Tokyo. And then I'm like, because I was hungover and somebody was calling me early, probably to go to an interview or something. And like an hour later, half hour later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Japan. It's going to be like $1 billion. So I went down and I found it in this bush and it was broken. And I took it back up to my room and I tried to set it where it was, like, and put it back together. But if you would have blown on it, it would have just gone poof, right? And by the time I checked out, I had a $900 bill for a phone.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But
Yikes.
stupid stuff like that. You think back and it's funny and nobody got hurt, and but there's stuff like that on video, and it's funny. It's just the funny things people say and do when you're young and dumb, right?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you have video, because you have the stories and then you can always write a book, but if you had the video and you can make a documentary, that's like money, I think.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I always loved the Skid Row videos. Those are some of those first couple of videos were there were so many funny, and I think they had hours and hours of footage, and they had to cut it down to an hour and a half or whatever.
Yeah, good friends, good guys.
Yeah, I saw you guys. It was Warrant, Skid Row, and Winger here last time. It was at the casino, outdoor at the pool. That was like such a
Yep.
great show. So fun.
Scottsdale, yeah. And
Yeah.
Robbie Crane played
Yeah.
bass for because Rachel was sick or something.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those guys are good friends. We've known them for so long, and we hope they get up and rolling again soon.
Yeah, they're still trying to find a singer, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. That's
Any
a tough.
suggestions for who they should get?
What's funny is we found a guy in like Philippines, believe it or not,
Hmm.
that was doing some stuff, and we were going to forward it to him. But those guys know what they're looking for, and they're pros, and they'll find somebody. I thought they had it with that Eric guy because he was great.
It was so good.
He was great, and they'll find somebody.
What'd you think of that last record with Eric? Because I loved how, I mean, it sounded like they went back in time and made a record in between Skid Row debut and Slave to the, it was like from 1990, like in between the two of them. And I
Yeah.
thought that'd be so cool if you guys did something like that between Cherry Pie and Dog Eat Dog, like kind of a mix of the two. Like, I think that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
That would be cool. We'll see what we do. We're starting to talk about something. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna. There's all kinds of stuff moving and grooving that I can't really talk about right now.
Well, you also talked about maybe doing a solo record and having people guest on it and having like some female singers maybe, and just kind of doing like what Slash does where he has a bunch of guest singers.
I would like to get a bunch of different. Being working at Pearl, I know a bunch of great drummers, right?
Sure.
And some of the drummers that are in heavy bands are Warrant fans, right? So I would like to do something before I'm done with my career that, maybe 9, 10 songs, maybe 8, 7 or 8, originals, maybe a few covers, and have different players on every song, and get
Yeah.
all my buddies that kick ass on drums, some some you don't know, and then call my favorite singers in the world and just say, please sing on this, and I've approached some of the guys, and they're like, let me hear it, and there's stuff I've written that's just so primal right now. I've got to take the time, and probably will do that in the next 5 years, but it ain't going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that because yeah, I think the one person I had on the show who did that and it had a lot of success was Billy. I think his name is it Billy Morrison. I think that's his name. He's the guitar player for Billy Idol, and
Yeah.
he had like Ozzy and like all these people, Billy Idol, and all these other people sing on his and guest on his solo record, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. I think the one song he did with Ozzy was like the #1 song on the rock charts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great stuff. Yeah. He's a great player. And, Steve Stevens is great. So, yeah, something like that. So we'll see. Time will tell. When I do it, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, come back and promote it anytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love I would love to hear some new Warrant or just new music, either your solo or Warrant or something. Have you guest on someone else's? Like, be cool to put stuff out there, right?
We'll get you something new soon enough.
Yeah,
I know it's long overdue. We're like running up on 9 years or 8 years since anything new. So
yeah. Or those Dog Eat Dog demos. I'd be really curious to hear that because I do love that album. I know it's so funny because I feel like everybody says that now. Like I listen to a lot of interviews with you and people are like, oh, I love Dog Eat Dog. I'm like, I don't remember any of these people when that album came out and I was living in Seattle in '92 and I was like. Now, that's the one thing I like about social media is it brings you together with all these people with similar interests. I think that's really cool.
Did you see us in Seattle?
No, because you played I think it was the what was that, Ballard Firehouse or something. You had to be 21. So all
We
the
played
bands
the
I love,
Coliseum. We played the Coliseum on the Cherry Pie tour.
I think I hadn't got into rock at that point.
Okay, and then
I got into
so that
rock in
would have
like
been 90.
92.
That would have been 91. And then
Yeah,
before that, we played the Paramount
I love that
on
venue.
we played the Paramount, I think, on the Dirty Rotten tour, and a band called Alice in Chains opened up for us.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, that is so
Yeah.
cool. Like, do you remember that show?
Yes, because I thought they were killer. And I was
Really?
like, yeah. And of course, I mean, I love a lot of the Seattle, a lot of people feel like Seattle grunge killed Warren. It's like, no, we all ate ourselves. You know what I mean? But some of the bands that came out of the two bands I really dug were Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, the heavier bands.
Sure.
I wasn't a big fan of Pearl Jam, although there were some great tunes. The goatee vocal always kind of turned me off, if you know what I mean. It was just a little trippy. Nirvana, killer raw stuff, great. But I didn't really look at it as that whole situation as that killed, what we were doing. We kind of killed what we were doing. All of us did, it was like self-indulgent on hyperdrive, and it ate itself.
But do you think you would do anything different? Because those first three records, they're great. Like all three of them, even Doggy Dog. Like I think it was a natural progression. I don't know if I would say that you should change it. Maybe some of the fashions should have been different. I don't know.
The fashion, there's some statements in there, right? Huh?
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. But no, I don't think I'd change anything. I mean, um, you know, again, there's five guys making decisions, and
Sure.
throwing a management company, and throwing lawyers, and throwing all this other bullshit, and then throwing success. And once you get success, people stop calling each other, and you get off the road and you don't talk to each other. I mean, we lived together before those first three records. We lived together. We lived, ate, drank together in the same place. We
How do
had
you not go crazy at that, like, and murder each other?
because you've got one common goal. You want a record deal. You want to go out on the road and tour, and so you're just living and eating and breathing that. But once you get the success, and everybody says, "Well, I'm going to buy a house." Well, I'm going to buy a house. You don't buy houses next to each other. Do you know what I mean? Because oh, I'm going to get married. Oh, I'm going to have a family. It changes, you know. And then when you get off the road, you don't see each other until you get back together to do something, make a record, go on tour. To where now it's just like when we get on the road and we're driving around, Hey man, how's the family? How's your son? How's your wife? What's the wife doing this weekend? Well, we got next weekend off. What are you doing? Any plans? Yeah, we're gonna go vacation, take the RV down here. It's the same like anybody else. We're the same. We just happen to play music for a living, you know? And we've gotten it to a point in this band where the love that each guy has for one another is so strong and killer that it's a good place, man. There's no negative, like I said. It's like I can't say it enough. And I wish that other bands that I'm friends with and fans of had the same experience because it's fantastic, you know, knowing that your buddy's good, and that when you see him next weekend, you're going to kick ass and have some fun, and then you're going to go your own separate ways and everything's great, you know. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Do you think part of it too is that you guys can equally split everything five? I mean, I'm assuming that you just split things five ways. Is that just so there's no? Because I know like people were saying Guns N' Roses Axl's getting like 50% of the take or something like that, and so like maybe there's some animosity with some people with that. But I mean, then he kind of deserves it because he's Axl Rose. So I don't know.
This is my take on money. Having money is way better than not having money,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Sure.
The more money you make, the more you can spend, right? If you make the same amount of money every year all your life, then you can get really good at how you manage it, right? That's another take on money. And if you ever do anything just for money, it's soulless. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see any reason why somebody like and it's none of my business, but Guns N' Roses has to have so much money and they generate so much income. Why would somebody need that much more than the next guy? There's only so much shit you can buy, and shit's shit, you know? Cars, houses, all that stuff, which I've got them, but you can burn them tomorrow. As long as my family's healthy, my friends are healthy, and everybody's happy, and there's food on the table, I'm golden. It's not about money. And so as far as Warren's concerned, yeah, everybody, I mean, not getting too much into our business, there's a great agreement. Everybody agrees. There's no animosity. Okay. If there was animosity, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation,
Sure.
quite
Yeah.
frankly, and it would make it hard. I think the bands, again, that share equally stay around for a long time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
especially too with like now how did that work? Did you guys get songwriting credits with Warrant? Because I know Jani was pretty much the principal song. I mean, he wrote pretty much all the songs, but he didn't give you guys songwriting credits, did he?
He didn't. I think he gave Eric arranging credits on Cherry Pie. I wrote the riff, the intro riff to Sure Feels Good. I didn't get any on that.
Hmm.
Danny Stagg laughs at me. Danny from Kingdom Come and JB Frank. All four, those two guys, myself and Janie, were in the same room. It was my riff, and then we wrote it and went on with it. And he gave JB and Danny writing credit, and Danny to this day still gets money for that. And he laughs. He goes, "I can't believe he didn't get writing credit on that." I don't care about stuff like that. I mean, that's one in many. It was just a boogie riff, a little like Van Halen-esque riff, and so in the beginning, it was a different situation the way Janie handled his publishing, but everybody had a taste. Absolutely.
Yeah, because you get
Now,
don't you also get a performance
yeah,
royalty?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's split five ways. You
sure.
can't you can't change that.
Yeah.
And that pays. I mean, there's different revenue streams in music. There's if you have hits and they're played on the radio and they're played on the internet, there's revenue streams.
Yeah,
You
and you guys
know,
have your song are in commercials and like I just saw there was I think you have it on your YouTube. There's like was it an Arby's commercial or something?
it's been Cherry Pie's been in like 27 movies.
Yeah, that's a
So
nice chunk of change, right?
yeah, there's money. Yeah, there's money that's generated from the back catalog. That's fantastic. And I know when we do something that's not directly related to Janie's publishing because it's owned by a different entity, not his family. But if it's something that his daughters are due, that we take care of his daughters. I mean, they get if we do something that generates money that's not in his publishing, they get money.
Hmm.
And we're honest about it. And there's a relationship there, and it's good.
That's
you know?
admirable, yeah. Because there was always those kind of like lawsuits and things you see with I think Soundgarden was going through something. They're trying to get
Yeah.
Chris Cornell's music or something, and the Widow was trying to say no, you can't. I don't know. There was some sort of issue
It's
there.
I like to sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you ever
And
do you ever wonder like what if you didn't join Warrant? Like what if you just joined another band and they didn't make it? It sounds like you would be in the same place. Like you are just this isn't like your whole defining who you are being in Warrant. Like your family and your friends and all that stuff defines your happiness.
it definitely does. And I've, going to school, got an engineering degree, I've got Microsoft certification, and just going to school and getting educated and then working private business for over 30 years of my life outside of Warrant, is what I do for a living, and Warrant is what I do for a living. It's commingled. I'm lucky to be able to do both, but it's a lot of work and it defines me to the point to where I'm a hard worker. Okay, he's a hard worker. But what really defines me is my family and my friends and my relationships and how tight they are and how much love's there. And that's the definition. I really couldn't care. I could care less about what anybody says about this band online, good or bad. I would hope that our efforts that people enjoy it. If they don't, I'm sorry. You didn't enjoy it. If you're a hater and you just don't like the band and it makes you feel good to make that public, enjoy yourself, I feel sorry for you. I like to keep it positive, and I like waking up happy after a good night's sleep because I didn't fuck somebody out of money, you know, and that's the way I roll. Other people are different, to each his own. Don't want to judge anybody, really, to be honest with you.
No, but I think your attitude, to me, it's inspiring to hear that. I like hearing that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah,
I think it's a reasonable adult attitude.
yeah. No, I mean that's what it's like. It sounds like you're in a really good place. It's just good to hear.
Now I just got to stay alive for as long as I can.
Right? I know
Yeah.
it's tough. There's just like so many things out there that just it's sad to see. Like with CJ. I mean, that was just so heartbreaking because he's so young. You're just like, what? No, like he
Yeah.
can't go. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I'm 61 in 3 weeks, and he was in his mid 60s. It's just yeah, it's a bummer to see guys go like that. So you never know, man. You got to treat each day like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah,
Didn't Dave Lee Roth say that? Something?
probably. Yeah,
Yeah, running with the devil, something like that, somewhere in there. Like there's no tomorrow, something in there. I don't know.
yeah. He's an interesting guy. So you've hung out with him though.
I hung out. I first met him in 1984 at the Rainbow. I was with his girlfriend and his pot dealer,
Oh, okay.
and his pot dealer worked for for Capitol Records, but also sold pot. And
Huh.
and then I was with his girlfriend, which was at the time her name was Kate Simmons. She was Gene Simmons, the actress's daughter,
Okay.
and she was absolutely beautiful and absolutely a sweetheart. I could see why Dave was attracted to her. But I had dinner at the Rainbow with him and got to hang out with Dave for the first time, and then toured with him and have seen him a few other times and here and there. And he's a smart guy, definitely what I'd call a savant of sorts,
Hmm.
um, and a hell of a wordsmith. If you listen to all those lyrics on Van Halen records that he wrote, absolutely entertaining. And his show he did, if you get a chance and you like the Dave Van Halen, go. I grew up on the Dave Van Halen, so that's my shtick. That's why when people say, Jani, if it's not Jani, it's not Warrant, I get it. I get it. Those first three records, when Jani was on live, nobody could touch the guy. I mean, he sang better, he wrote better songs. He was really, really good at what he did. And he is missed sorely. So when somebody comes up and says, I'm not into the Robert thing, I'm like, okay, that's okay. But the band's not going to stop just because one guy is not here anymore. It's really unfortunate. I mean, what would have happened if AC/DC, stopped and didn't make Back in Black? think about all those great songs we would have never heard,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, yeah, and it's not fair if you weren't alive, when Jani Lane was around, then what? So then you just could never hear unless you're hearing a cover band play Warrant or something like, or a tribute
You
band.
go out, like, look at what Pantera guys are doing. I get it, I
I
get
get
it.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and saw Pantera when I was a kid, and I haven't seen this new incarnation, but I mean, Zach Wilde is like, I mean, he was one of the greatest guitar players ever. So you couldn't get a better replacement.
And he was like best friends with Daryl, and Daryl was a Warrant fan. And there's a video online somewhere of Daryl coming out. We played
I've
Monsters of
seen
Rock,
that.
and Daryl comes out and sings Down Boys. He used to creep. We played Dallas. He'd always creep on stage and come around with a bottle of Crown, and just a wonderful individual. And I saw Cowboys from Hell tour. I'm a fan, so I think it's really good that they're doing that, and it's good for them, and it's good for the people that get to enjoy it. So embrace music. If you don't like it, don't go. If it's not your cup of tea, don't go. And if you are online hating on people, I truly feel sorry for you, because something's wrong with you and you need to check yourself.
That is so true.
Um,
Cause I mean, even I get comments on my YouTube and I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they
yeah,
attacking my tiny little YouTube channel with like 7,000 subscribers?
yeah.
Why do you
I,
care enough to
I
write a
got
comment?
I got an answer for you, and it kind of brings a close to this interview. You ready?
There we go.
Low IQ.
Low IQ. There it is. Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Uh, Warrant's got, like I said, I think you got 22 shows coming up. People can get the
Yes,
meet and
sir.
greets, and you've got, of course, they can download the music, and there's
Yeah.
merch. And what else can we promote? Maybe
We've
upcoming
got
projects.
we've got some projects in the works, and we'll be around, and we're touring, and we'll see if we get any new stuff out there, new old stuff, or plus a mix or some video. We'll see what we're doing. We're talking about a lot of stuff. We're having meetings and trying to figure it out. And if we ever come close to you, Chuck, you call me, and I will put you on the guest list.
Oh, okay. I didn't even have to ask. Well, you are
You can
coming. You're coming to Parker, and I'm thinking about making a road trip down there because I
that's
love that
80
area.
that's 84 miles from I've got a pad between Havasu and Laughlin.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
love that area.
I've got a boat and some sea-doos, and I go out there in the summertime with my family, and we have fun in between touring, and I can work from Pearl from there. So yeah, so I'm like 84 miles. If you want to come up to that show, let me know. That'll be a
I
fun one. It's
Yeah,
in October.
I was already planning on. I would buy a ticket, but if you're offering, I will take you up on the offer.
Just hit me you got my email. Just hit me a week before, and I'll take care of you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joey.
Good to see you, my brother.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
One of a kind, from the rockers to the wise men. Soon it folks will be